Calling our special meeting to order at 8:03 a.m. We'll have invocation followed by the pledge. Heavenly Father, thank you for this meeting, and Lord, thank you for this time to come together to discuss the business of our city. Father, fill our minds with your thoughts, fill our hearts with your spirit, and fill our mouths with your words, oh God, that we may make decisions that are pleasing to you and for the betterment of our city. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag. All right, so we've come here today to have our special meeting to discuss and possibly approve the adding of questions for the upcoming ballot, referendum questions for the upcoming ballot. We do have two commissioners that are not able to be physically present for the special meeting, Commissioner Peebles, Commissioner Warwick. Y'all would do a sound check for me, make sure I can hear you. Commissioner Peebles, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, awesome.
I can hear you.
All right, awesome. All right, so glad to have you two guys on with us today. We're going to open up this discussion in getting a report and update from our city attorney and any other information that she'd like to provide.
You have a draft of several questions in front of you. Vicki and I tag teamed this effort to try to accurately reflect the topics and the questions we understood you wanted to present to the public as part of this non-binding referendum. I will caution you that even though it is a non-binding referendum legally, it is politically binding. And so choosing your questions carefully and the way that they are worded matters to make sure that the public understands the question being asked of them. The danger, of course, is that you, as elected officials, have a much broader perspective and appreciation of what the big issues are in the city and the answer and information you hope to get from the public, and that's not always their perspective when answering the question. So there is some danger there. I just feel like I need to say that for the record.
Got it. So do you think this is something to do, to not do? What has been, I guess, the practice of other cities in regards to these questions on the ballot?
I echo the concerns or the statements of the supervisor of election that there is some danger in doing it. There, as Commissioner Peebles stated yesterday, there is an opportunity to get feedback from the public. Just keep in mind the kind of feedback you are likely to get. You are likely to increase voter turnout. That is a fact, and can be a disadvantage or advantage depending on who's running, whether you are the incumbent or a new person. History reflects that, yes, this does increase voter turnout. And if that is what matters most here, that is certainly an advantage of doing it. I would just encourage you, if you are inclined to do it, and that is absolutely your decision to make, to choose your topics carefully and to wordsmith them carefully. You have explored other options, such as a survey that is completely informal that you could post on your website to get the same information, but I'll leave it to you how you want to present these questions to the public.
All right, thank you. Okay, so thank you, City Attorney, for working on these based on our discussion on yesterday and putting them in the best format possible that could, be posted to the ballot on the referendum. So we've all had a chance to actually provide some questions, and so today we would hopefully like to identify the top 2 or 3 questions if we're deciding to move forward with this. Does everybody want to continue to move forward our discussion for the referendum? Commissioner Perno, you're good for wanting to put the questions on the ballot?
putting the questions on the ballot, but what questions are we going to put on the ballot? I know the library's one, but there's 2 questions for the library, right?
Right, so we're going to, yeah, just want to make sure
We're
that.
getting to that.
Yes.
Okay,
So
you're just
getting-
trying to wake me up, weren't you?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, I get it. Okay.
Yeah, just getting consensus that we want to move forward, Commissioner Vandegrift.
Yes, let's continue with the discussions.
All right, and my 2 guys on Commissioner Peebles, Commissioner Ward. You hear them?
I don't know if you want Commissioner Ward to go first or not, but
Either one.
so for me, the main one I brought forward was the library. My one request is that if we do decide to go with the library, that there's kind of 2 questions that go with the library. I was wondering if, I know we said 2 questions on the ballot, but we could kind of I was wondering if we could request to maybe do 3 questions, since 2 of the questions are basically the same question, just allowing for more options since we're limited to the yes and no. So for the one library question, it's talking about the tax dollars. The other one is talking about partnering and using a pre-existing building. I feel like both of those kind of are the same question, just more options. So my request would be, if we go with the library, maybe considering both of those questions, really just one question, and adding both of them to the ballot. And then not limiting that to where we can't have another question too. Like, I don't want it to be like we only get 2 questions and those are the 2 questions, because I don't think that's fair to anybody else that brought questions to the table. I just was wondering if you all would consider allowing those 2 questions to count as one of our 2 questions, if that makes sense.
So what we're going to look at today is possibly putting 3 on there. So the library, with those being 2 different questions, because although it counts as one, the citizens are still having to answer 2 questions. So we'll look at adding, if we do the library, that's 1, 2, and then and then a 3rd question to also go along with that as well. All right. So library. I think there was a consensus yesterday to do to add the library as part of the questioning for that. Are you okay with that, Commissioner Perno? So library.
I'm good with the library. I do have a question, though, about the second part.
Okay.
It says, should the city partner with the Northwest Florida Regional Library System? Do they want to partner with us? So there's already been some conversation. Okay.
Yes, we had those conversations for about right after Hurricane Michael. Then I actually met with them yesterday, which was already pre-planned before you guys to start do this. And still willing to do that, as they do with, I think, Parker and some of the other cities that have those.
Yeah, I'm good with the 2 on the library.
All right, Commissioner Ward.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to put the library question. The only concern I have that I brought up last time is there any way we can quantify it as far as what it projected to cost taxpayers?
I didn't understand that last part about the modification. If you could repeat that about modification for.
I'm sorry, what?
I didn't understand the last part of your statement in regards to modifying it.
I was just wondering if there's any way we can quantify it where what a projected amount of money it would cost the taxpayers.
Okay, so I got you. If we could actually put a monetary number towards that in regards to what it would cost taxpayers, in regards to that question, should the city rebuild a library funded whole or in part by an increase to local tax dollars, and actually trying to put an actual dollar amount to that.
Do we know the estimated fiscal impacts of rebuilding a library?
We did a couple of years ago.
Yeah. And we know that that cost has skyrocketed. And I think I may have heard someone say yesterday, we don't want to put down anything that we don't have clear numbers on.
We could add a statement that said in 2001 or 2002, whenever you got your estimate, the estimate was, and the implication, obviously, for us is that the costs have gone up. I don't know if we'll have enough word count to indicate the prices as the actual price to do it in the future will be more. But we can certainly add a statement as to the quote you've already gotten.
Put a number on it.
So what, and I guess for me, when we're talking about putting a number on it, how would we figure the number and because the number isn't what the library is going to cost by building it as much as what is it going to cost?
You said the year that we did do it, we did do a cost, we do have a cost from a couple years ago, right?
Right.
So she said, put that date, that year date, that in that year, it cost this much.
Right. But that,
Probably say with
but that cost wasn't to the citizens though. That was coming out of insurance money.
already know that insurance money. We know what the insurance dog-eared for the library, but it was told to us that there was we saw plans and whatnot, so what would it cost? We did a workshop on it, we looked at everything, what that separate building was.
Right. I understand that part.
We supposedly have a number on it, don't we?
At that time, it was what, 1.9 million?
Yes.
And that was going to be covered by insurance, though. When we built it, was going to be covered by insurance. And then I guess the ongoing funding of it in regards to staffing and all of that would be.
Didn't we get 1.9 million from insurance?
Right.
We did?
So what I'm saying is that's not what the 1.9 million isn't going to cost the citizens anything because we already have that. So that's the part I'm asking, what number are we trying to put on here? We can say the library costs 1.9 million, but
Ask.
So what's the square footage? Can't you do square footage time the basic cost?
It was a little bit over 4,000.
All right, 4,000. So Chris, do you know what the average cost now is to construct something?
The last commercial number we heard was about $450 a square foot.
Is that not a logical way to figure it out and then back out the 1.9?
you could, yeah. Because I don't.
The one issue with that is that it's not just building a library. You're going to have to fund the library staying open too.
Yeah. So Sam's question isn't for building the library, it's the ongoing staffing, electricity bill. So it's not just, hey, it's going to cost us this to build it. How long are we willing to fund it? 20 years, 30 years, 40 years for the increase of that? And so my question isn't, so let me clarify, I'm not asking for us to put down a dollar amount in regards to what it's going to cost to build it, but we're talking about the actual funding of it, and then we're attaching that to local tax dollars. Is that going to increase the millage rate by 1%? Is that going to increase the millage rate by 2%, 0.5%, in order to have the ongoing funding of it?
But that's not what the question asks. The question says, rebuild the library. It doesn't say and maintain for the future.
So we do need to rephrase that if you're having, so yes, so let's say this, that is the problem with the referendum questions in general that Amy was referring to, is that although we're putting rebuild, from my understanding yesterday, it was actually for the ongoing funding of it and not just the rebuilding of it.
Well, we just need to make that clear.
We can replace the word rebuild with, establish, operate, and maintain, which confirms it's a reconstruction and also the ongoing evergreen maintenance and operation of it. Do we have a budget number, an annual budget number from the years when y'all did operate City Library? And do we have would it be apples to apples?
It wouldn't.
There had to be a cost for staff and stuff when we did have a library building and staffed it, didn't there?
We do.
Could we get our arms around a number?
Well, that 450 a square foot
It's for the building,
is for the building. It doesn't
right?
take into consideration the
the fu-
computers that are needed, the books,
Yep.
and the personnel
F&E.
continuing operation.
Can we just put the number, can we just put the number it was projected to be before? And let's just let them know that it's going to be much higher than that.
And again, I think the challenge of putting the number before, when we're saying it costs 1.9 million, the citizens we weren't increasing tax dollars for the 1.9 million. That was being paid with insurance money.
Right.
So we could say the previous cost of the library is 1.9 million. It would be a very wordy question, but we could say the previous cost of the library is 1.9 million. It's increased since that time. And the citizens, we would have to basically increase taxes in order to make up the difference between the two.
All right, how about this? Should the city reestablish, operate, and maintain a library funded in whole or in part by an increase to local tax dollars? The cost to construct a 4,000 square foot library is anticipated to exceed 1.9 million. The ongoing annual budget to maintain and operate the city library is expected to exceed the number you give me.
I probably could get that number for you. I'm looking at previous budgets. I'll just have to plug that number in because I know it's a high number. We had at least 3 employees and just the maintenance of the building and so on.
All right, while we're waiting on those, let's discuss what our second question would be. So we have our first 2 questions, or what our third question would be, going on to the referendum or ballot for feedback from the community. We have establishment of city clerk, city commission meeting times, the city's financial responsibility, amendment to stormwater tier system, changing the funding mechanism for city stormwater program, and another, should the collection be placed back on the water bill, and then creation of city zoning map. Ms. Vandergrift, is there a particular question that you?
Well, I had the one on, of course, the library, but physical responsibility of the, and so I'll withdraw that one and we'll make it easier.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Purtle, did you have a particular third question that you thought would be good for the citizens?
There's 2. I think the citizens would make a decision on whether they'd want an ad valorem or the bill on the or their stormwater assessment done through their bill, and that would only be the billing people. so that you're looking at a hefty increase in the bill, somewhere around $15. But some people would rather pay monthly than all at once on their taxes. That would put that in their hands. But as I said yesterday, I would support the question about establishing an additional position for a city clerk. So I support both of them. And I'll let Commissioner Warwick expound on the clerk question, because I think that was his first question, so.
All right. Ms. Van der Grift, from those two, is there any one of those that you favor more?
Well, I think the one on the stormwater, I'm not sure most of the citizens understand, number one, the tier system, and I don't think they would understand the impact to the ad valorem taxes. So that one's kind of, I think we need to discuss that one among the commission before we propose it to the citizens. If it comes on the water bill, then it's mixed up, whereas the way it is now, it comes in strictly stormwater money. Ms. Gaynor, explain how that money comes in and you divvy it out. The difference in the two.
Okay. So stormwater, of course, is an enterprise fund. So when we get that money from the tax collector, it is actually a tagged amount. Say, for instance, they've collected $800,000. That money goes straight into stormwater. Doesn't miss a beat, straight into stormwater. We can also track that to see how much money we've collected in an entire year. So it's dedicated, can be used for nothing but stormwater, and don't have to worry about it falling off into another department. For general fund, if it's put into general fund as a part of that ad valorem, it's going to come in as part of our tax base, and then we are going to have to divvy out what we think or what we need in order for stormwater to go forward and actually be utilized in that fashion. General fund is, as you know, really about the services that we offer. Stormwater is about services, but it also is about capital projects. And so when it's in general fund, it's going to get mixed with general fund money. If it's directly into stormwater, there's no way it can get mixed. And I know that was a big concern when we started the assessment, is making sure that they were divided and that all the money that they were assessed went into stormwater.
Got it. All right.
But thank you. And I'm okay with the clerk question, but if we're going to start adding money, this is a paid position. Do we need to somehow?
Right. So with the clerk position, there would still have to be a charter change. So then that change wouldn't happen until 2027.
But do the citizens need to know that that's still, a significant cost increase, another employee?
It could be added to that. I think that's an easier dollar amount to add than the library funding.
I do have that number for you.
Okay. Is this for the library or for the clerk?
This is for the library.
Okay.
Sorry, you guys switching back and forth, but I want to make sure I got that to you. The last budget for the library was in 2018, and that number was $320,000, 676.
320?
Mm-hmm.
That was the operational cost?
That's everything. course, now that was in 2019, because remember,
That would have been the water bill, electric bill on the building and all that monthly.
that's the operational costs, expenditures and operational costs of the library.
That wouldn't include your immediate purchase of furniture and books, I would imagine, the initial startup cost. You've got your construction on the one hand, which may or may not include furniture. I don't know that it would include books, though, would it?
I guess we're just trying to give some numbers. Yeah.
I was trying to decide if I should add a line or a phrase that said exclusive of initial startup cost. Again, this is hard.
No, I get it. Okay. Thank you. All right. So that's the library question. That's one. That's two. For my third question, I like really the zoning question, because right now we don't have zoning, and asking the citizens, would they like for us to create a zoning map? I think that's something that could be more achievable for us as a commission. If we get that feedback in April, then that's something that we can, we're discussing it now, but we can push forward knowing that we have the citizens' feedback on how they feel about that, because we've talked about it. And then that'll give us better direction on, hey, this is, we're not just spinning our wheels, but we're actually moving forward in something that we know the community wants us to do.
And that also comes at a cost, the zoning map. So do we have a broad estimate on what that would be? Because it kind of scared me the last time we were bringing it up, and is that this is very expensive to do, is what someone was saying. So does anybody know out of the air what it would cost for a zoning map?
No.
So,
and again,
if we're going to put dollar amounts on stuff, we might want to say it's at a cost to the taxpayer as well. So, I think people would presume that it comes at a cost when they're.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not so sure about that.
Read.
We don't have a magic wand and say, all right, now we do zoning. But
Right.
a lot of people, when they answer that question, yes or no, don't consider those
That's
caveats.
so it would be at an additional cost, say on there, right?
So the language I've added, which you can amend however you want. Right now, I have added a line that said, the estimated cost of this effort is unknown but expected to be significant. Which I feel like is a true statement.
It is.
So it's significant, like more than $10,000, $50,000, $100,000.
I can qualify it to be significant enough to have a taxpayer impact, if you think it will.
And let me say this, everything is going to cost us money. I get we're trying to put dollar amounts, but everything we're asking the citizens is going to cost. So, and I think the citizens know that, which is why they keep us accountable and ask us questions on how we're spending their money. So yeah, I'm not saying not to put dollar amounts, but I think every citizen knows that it's going to cost and there's going to be an impact for it. Not just the zoning map, I'm saying everything we're asking, a cost is associated with that.
Bobby, would you have any idea when the zoning department was in place way back when, or?
Does any staff member have a roundabout figure? We have 100 years of knowledge in here on planning. Does anybody have a number you can pull out the air? Okay, let me Google it then. How much does it cost to do a zoning map? All right, $300,000.
I was thinking it'd be close to, a couple $100,000.
Absolutely depends on the size, right? I think it surely depends on the size of the city. And remember, once you put it in place, that's almost like a one-time cost.
coordinate your future land use map as well. So it's
Right.
not just a matter of that. So there's going to be additional costs to
Yeah.
tie everything in together.
Got it. So let's do this, guys. We're trying to have decisions on something that are just fictitious ideas that we haven't done yet. Okay? It's 8:33. We're supposed to be done at 8:30. I mean, that's the idea. It was really a simple conversation. So I understand we want to put numbers on things, but right now we're just trying to get feedback from citizens. If that's the purpose of the survey, is to get feedback from citizens. So let's put the questions in a way where it won't be too confusing for the citizens, get feedback from the citizens. And then once we get, for example, with zoning, we'll get the actual numbers and know it's going to cost us $175,000. And then the citizens are going to say, we don't want that. Or yes, we do want that, right? And that's with everything. If we say, let's move forward with the library, then the citizens are going to say, yeah, we want that, or no, we don't want that, like they do everything else. So that's my thought, is that we don't get bogged down in trying to make it, because we're not voting on the actual action of what we're asking the question on today. We're just asking, what questions can we put on there for the citizens to give us feedback on? And I think we need to have questions that have the greatest impact for the citizens themselves. You know, what if we're saying we want to get surveys and feedback from the citizens, then this is an opportunity for us, not necessarily to get questions on the day-to-day operations of the city, as much as this is something that's going to impact the entire city, like a library, stormwater, zoning, that I think we can get feedback on. And then, because the numbers are going to change, we're going to put this number on here, it's going to change in a couple of years by the time we actually get to that project. So let's just keep that in mind as we're deciding on our questions, that we don't have to figure out the action today. We just got to figure out, is that a question that we want to ask people and want feedback on? That's all.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, that's it. All right, so with the zoning question, I think that'd be a good third question, because that impacts the entire city. That impacts future bills, that impacts what things are doing now. That does help that'll give us, again, an idea especially as we're talking about the ULDC and our comprehensive plan. I think this is something that would really give us input from the citizens this is something we're discussing now. And not just something that's projected to be discussed, but something we're discussing now. So I think the zoning map question and we can still put that language that is going to cost us something. I'm not saying not to put that language, but we don't have to make a decision on whether or not we put that question or not bearing a particular number. Because we still not making a decision, because we still may say, no, we're not going to do that, right? If the citizens say no. So is there any other commissioner that likes the zoning map question?
About Peoples and Ward, what do y'all have to say?
I'm coming to them.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, I got you.
I didn't want you to forget that little.
I hadn't forgotten.
Right there.
Yep. So I got you. Commissioner Perno, any thoughts on the zoning question?
I think it's a good question.
All right, Commissioner Vandegrift.
It is a good question. We've discussed it several times, especially when issues come up.
Right.
Planning.
All right, Commissioner Warwick.
Yes, I think it's a good question. I think the biggest thing is educating the public on what it means we're going to a zoning map. But yeah, I think it's a good question.
Do you have any comments on any of the other questions?
I know you guys talked about it earlier, and it doesn't look like it's going to be on there, but we're talking about the stormwater. I know I brought up about the ad valorem. After I did my research, I wasn't a proponent for the ad valorem. I just kind of wanted to more look at the utility accounts. If we looking to see if we wanted to add it to the bill, wanted to keep it in the period system. So, but other than that, that's all I had.
Okay. And Commissioner Peebles?
I like honestly, all these questions are really solid. I think the key here is just not to overcomplicate it. But yeah, zoning was a big thing, that I think, that if I was to put another question, like outside of the library, I would have put zoning as well. I was considering that, but I only put the 2 for the library because I just wanted to limit mine to 2 because that's what you requested. So, but all the questions, like literally, I won't be mad if any of the other ones go on there because I think they're all solid.
All right, thank you. All right, so we're looking at the library questions, the zoning questions. Could you read what you have for those?
Sure. So question 1, non-binding referenda regarding reestablishment of city library. Question, should the city reestablish, operate, and maintain a library funded in whole or in part by an increase to local tax dollars? The cost to construct a 4,000 square foot library is anticipated to exceed $1.9 million. The ongoing annual budget to maintain and operate the library is expected to exceed $320,000.
Okay. Second question.
Question 2, non-binding referenda regarding a regional library partnership. Question, should the city partner with the Northwest Florida Regional Library System to establish a satellite branch within an already existing city-owned building? What I haven't added here that is my question, if I were seeing this on a ballot, is this partnership a way to realize some cost savings, or is the benefit to get a library more quickly established in the city?
Yeah. I think if there's, with that question, it will go back to like what Commissioner Perno brought up yesterday in regards to looking at a current city building, adding some expansion to that, and then having that partnership with Northwest Florida.
Yes. So it would be cost savings, because I think that's really a great idea.
Dissect the senior center in a way.
Yes, and we actually talked about that yesterday, Commissioner Perno. What would it take to turn an existing building into a satellite office? And it surely would be some cost saving for us. They would supply, just so you know, if we went into partnership, they would supply at least 2 people. Those salaries we would have to pay, or we could hire our own. I asked about hiring our own. We could get volunteers and buy books from them. So it is surely a cost-saving measure.
I bet folks at the senior center would even help run the technology center.
Yes, yeah, you're right.
Okay, so the question is now a question and a statement. Should the city partner with the Northwest Florida Regional Library System to establish a satellite branch within an already existing city-owned building? This could expedite the reestablishment of the library and allow the city to recognize some cost savings.
Okay. And the zoning question?
You may hate it, but that's why we're here. Title, non-binding referenda regarding creation of city zoning map. Question, should the city develop and implement a zoning map to enhance community planning by more specifically guiding land use in the city? The city does not currently have a zoning map, but implements orderly growth based on a citywide comprehensive plan. A zoning map would enable the city to expressly identify the actual list of permissible uses on each parcel in the city. The estimated cost of this effort is unknown, but expected to exceed $300,000.
So as opposed to the number, let's go back to your first state that it'd be a significant cost.
To be significant?
Yes.
So you're taking out the 300,000, exceed 300,000, and replace it with significant?
Back to the original wording. Okay. City Manager, if you read this resolution by title only, please.
Yes, sir. A resolution of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, calling for a non-binding referendum related to the three questions that Amy has already stated, setting the date of the referendum to be April 2020, April 22nd, 2025, and providing for notice thereof, establishing the ballot titles and questions for the referendum, authorizing the city manager to make such corrections and amendments as may be necessary to accomplish the purposes of this resolution, and providing an immediately effective date.
All right, is there a motion for this resolution and those three non-binding referendum questions?
So move.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, is there a discussion from the public? All right, Mr. Bashir, then Mr. Scray, then Mr. Walker.
So the first thing I wanted to say is currently the Northwest Regional Library has a bookmobile that visits Lynn Haven, Sheffield Park with some frequency. Looking at their schedule right now, they're visiting about once a month from 2:30 to 4 p.m. So I don't think people are aware that there is an opportunity to get books and things from the Northwest Florida Regional Library currently with no cost to the city. So if that's not being utilized, I would ask the question of why. I know that's not on the referendum, but it's something that needs to be considered. And of course, y'all just need to decide which three things you want to do. And I know that's what y'all are talking about. So just, that's all I've got.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Scray.
Thank you. So out of all the different questions that you guys came up with, the zoning to me is the most important. I mean, that's going to define the way the city goes far into the future beyond the next 4 or 8 years. I mean, we're talking on the road, right? That is by far the most important question that needs to be on there. I think that's question number 1 on the referendum. As far as the libraries go, I mean, you guys know I'm tapped into the city. Citizens, I know, hear a lot about what people want. There's no question people want a library. I don't think we need to waste 2 questions on it. The first question needs to be either combined with the network of the other library, the Bay County system, or it just needs to be removed, and you guys need to pick a different question. If we have the ability, as Vicky's saying, to partner with the pre-existing setup, why can't we just combine that in and just, do you want us to pursue spending the money that it's going to take to either A, build a brand new building by ourselves and do our own library, because then we're limited to what only we do, or pursue the other option, and it can still be a yes or no question, because all you're asking the public is, do you want a library or not? Do you want us to spend money on getting you guys a library, whether that library is partnered or Lynn Haven exclusive? That's one question. So I know you guys are in the middle of voting on the motion. You absolutely can move back, discuss changing that question to one question and introducing a third question. As far as what third question, well, we have 2 other very important questions. We have the clerk question, which you said would not take effect until the charge is updated in 2027. Vicky does not want a clerk. She is the clerk right now. With the extension you guys did, it's not going to be a problem for her. You'll have a new city manager and a new clerk at that time, right? So that can be one question, or you can do the tiered system versus what we have now, the 3-tier versus the 5-tier. I think that's very important because the stormwater brief that you guys had made it clear what the ramifications are there, and you have hard factual numbers for that. That is probably the only question you could actually tie numbers to on the referendum. So I would encourage you to backtrack just a little bit, get rid of those first 2 questions, make them one question, and then that'd be question 2. Question 1 would be your zoning, and come up with a third question, either the clerk or the stormwater stuff. So, I think that's what's best for the city. That's what the citizens will want to vote on, and I think it'll be easier for them to understand rather than having 2 different questions for the library. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Walker.
Keeping it because what you come out with here, the public, a non-referendum, these referendums are non-binding. Actually, they're worthless. They're worthless. You got to make the decision in the end anyway. So, you're going to open up a bucket of worms here when you bring it out to the public. They're going to have more questions, and they're going to come to you, and you're not going to answer them. They're going to come to the other citizens that have lived with this. They're going to have to help them out. Concerning the library, you keep throwing 1.9 million. You don't have that anymore. You got rid of that. You paid off part of the budget with the 1.9 million. You have a $4 million grant for Florida Avenue. There's another way to do this. Mr. Peebles is well aware of it. You're not aware of it. This can be done a different way. Your library for 170 years, let's say 100 years, was given to you free of charge. You didn't support it. You never paid a penny for it. When it was turned over to you, the library and the funds and the 8,000 books given to you. The building was given to you. The property was given to you. A $50,000 grant was given to you by the forerunners of the library. You squandered that. Library that was rebuilt in 1977, which was the second one, third one, was destroyed. That money was lost. Property has been given to you, and you have a pond there now. You have the architectural drawings for the library. You have the request from the people to join the Northwest. The original library was there, already done. And you have the land for the library. You promised them the media center. Not going to get it. By the time you get there to rebuild the library the way you want it, the quote was given to me was $15 million, just for building it. Peebles is right. The support of it is going to be something you're going to have to bear. But that's in the budget already. You just don't have the funds in there. The people that are running the library are doing other jobs. Their salaries are still being paid. There's a better way to do this. I don't think your answers that you're being given is the way to do it. If you want to know how to do it, contact Mr. Peebles. He has a white paper written by the people from the library.
All right, thank you.
How to do it.
Mr. Joe Riley.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, commissioners. Is the stormwater question going to be on the questionnaire?
At this time, it's not part of the motion to be on the questionnaire, no, sir.
Well, it was discussed yesterday, and I like what Mr. Ward, Commissioner Ward, was suggesting, that money not be an ad valorem tax, but rather to put onto the utility bill. I think most people would be more interested in paying $15 a month instead of paying $2,000 at the Christmas time to come up with that amount of money, where you could put it over a period of time at the $15. I thought that was a great suggestion, and I think for people that own a lot of land in Lynn Haven, impervious land or pervious land especially, you know, they're being assessed all this amount of money with their acreage, where the people with, you know, to have it on their monthly bill would be a much better deal. And so I just would, that should be on the, one of your questions, I think, instead of the zoning. I don't, you know, zoning is great, but zoning has a lot of problems involved. and you would have a lot more people coming up here regarding zoning than you would anything else. Have another minute, so I just want to tell everybody in Lynn Haven, just our city is on the grow, and it's a beautiful city. I love being here, living here, retiring here, and let me just say something about the library. I think that should be a question like he said before. Do the citizens want a library? And that should be a question of yes or no. Y'all have a good day.
All right, thank you. All right, so there's a motion on the floor to accept 3 non-binding referendum questions for the upcoming election, to be placed on the ballot for the upcoming election, April 22nd, 2025. City Manager, if you'll call the vote.
Commissioner Vandergriff?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles?
Yes.
Commissioner Warwick?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. Meeting adjourned.